Has anyone ever had an extremely close friend want to suddenly stop all communication with you? A good friend of mine stopped talking to me shortly after she got engaged. A few months after they got engaged, I got a save the date card. That was the last I heard from her. I'd try to call her and she never called back. I'd text, email, leave a message on Facebook, etc. Just nothing. I wasn't invited to the wedding. I ran into her about 6 months prior to the wedding at a restaurant. I waved, and she just walked past me. It hurt for a minute, but if that's the kind of person she is, then maybe it's best we're not friends anymore. I never found out why she just stopped talking to me. My best friend from high school would vanish for months at a time in our early 20s. He would disappear, then show back up like everything was completely normal a few months later. I didn't really notice, as we were both really busy with college, work, girls, hobbies, whatever. In fact, I used to joke about how cool it was that we could pick right up after not speaking to each other for so long. Turns out he was battling with pill addiction, and wasn't just disappearing from my life, but from the world for those months at a time. My best friend in college was probably the closest I've ever been with someone I wasn't romantically involved with. We lived together for 6 years, cried together, shared everything and always had each other's back. Cue his fiancée moving in with us. I didn't really care for her, but I wanted him to be happy, and I sat down with him many times to mutually discuss that we were both okay with it. The house was certainly big enough that we never got in each other's way, and me and her never had an issue. Our lease was almost up, so we were all trying to decide what to do about housing next. I come home from a long day at work and all of his and her stuff is gone. No note, no nothing. We were paid till the end of the lease, so he didn't stiff me on anything, but he was just gone. I haven't heard from him since. His cell was changed and he deleted every form of social media. This was 7 years ago and I still cry about it sometimes, and I'm still looking for him. At this point I just want to know he's okay and happy, but I miss my best friend and haven't had one since. Bro, that's a really terrible way to treat someone. I'm so sorry. I absolutely hated my best friend's fiancé, and he knew it. We didn't talk for about a year and a half, but he finally came to his senses 5 days into their marriage and asked for divorce. They lasted 7% of a Kardashian, and now we're bros again. My best friend of 20 plus years. We were as close as brothers. I moved away, but we used to talk a few times a week. He got married to this crazy woman with multiple kids from multiple fathers. She and I did not hit it off. She did crazy, borderline abusive things to him, such as banning him from the car, taking his cell phone away, telling him he could not be on Facebook, or have a separate email address than the one they shared. I would call, leave messages, email them to their shared address, and never a reply. He now has a few kids with her and I haven't heard from the guy in years. I hope he's not tied up in their basement. Yeah, my best friend and I spent hours on the phone the days leading up to the first day of 6th grade because we were so excited. Then the first day of school came and she completely ignored my existence and didn't speak a word to me. Never knew why. Never found out why. Frick you, Britney. She was trying to build a new image for herself and you didn't fit that image. It was a misguided attempt at being cool. My best friend of almost 20 years cut me off abruptly a couple years back. We lived together more than once and been friends since high school. He'd been the best man at my wedding. So how did it come to pass? He was incredibly negative, but I overlooked it because we'd been friends for so long. Everything around him bothered him. His job, his car, the drive-thru attendant at Taco Bell, the government, you name it. Hanging out became one long beef fest where we talk about how royally fricked the world was and how it could never, ever, possibly get any better. Worse. He was always telling me what I couldn't do. I remember saying I wanted to teach myself iOS development and he told me it was impossible and that I was just another geek. Things came to a head when our landlord evicted us because his daughter needed a place to live. The girl I'd been dating wanted to look for a new place with us, and my friend okayed it. Then the passive aggressive behavior began. He clearly had serious issues with my girlfriend, but couldn't ever come out and just say so. I knew this would lead to problems, so I finally sat him down to talk about it. The situation culminated in an argument where he said fine, go get your own place then. I asked him if he was sure that was what he wanted. He said yes. So 2 hours later my girlfriend and I did exactly that. He was so he stopped speaking to me. We still have many mutual friends and occasionally see each other. It makes me sad that we aren't close, but it was for the best. The stark difference in my quality of life still shocks me. Removing toxic people will do more to improve your life situation than anything else. Yeah, it was the beginning of my freshman year of college, and a high school friend, who I had known for about 3 years, very close friends, suddenly just stopped texting me. I was busy a lot and wasn't able to answer her texts as quickly as usual, but then it stopped at some point. I tried checking in on her to see how she was, but she wouldn't really say anything. I didn't understand until recently that she needed to stop talking to me because she had some feelings for me that she needed to work through, and she knew it wouldn't help if we continued talking. It's probably better for both of you if that's how she needs to process the situation. Still a bummer to lose a friend though. Yeah, I've known her since I was about 5 or 6 years old. We went to brownies and guides together, the equivalent of Girl Scouts. We went to the same secondary school. We were in the same tutor form group, so spent every day together. We were in a few of the same lessons, too. We spent weekend together shopping, having sleepovers, going for lunch or to the cinema. All of a sudden, she stopped talking to me, avoided me, blocked my number, removed me from Facebook. I contacted her sister to try and find out what was wrong, if I had done anything, and to tell her I missed her, but her sister never replied either. I miss her like crazy, but there is no way for me to contact her now. I still have no idea why. Been there. It hurts, but let it go. Move on. If neither will discuss with you, then it's on them. I used to work with this lesbian couple, and one of the girls I swear was my platonic soulmate. We immediately clicked and talked for hours and hours every time we spoke. I usually get very nervous talking to people and my anxiety goes through the roof, but not with this girl. We hung out all the time, texted every day, and just laughed at everything. This was for maybe 3 months. Then one day, nothing. Tried to talk to her at work, cold shoulder. She invited my friends out to lunch. I didn't get invited, and then snapped at me when I came. I asked her what changed, but she said nothing was different. Her girlfriend ended up taking me off Facebook and was always rude to me. I think her girlfriend thought we had something going on, so my friend ended us before it ended them. I miss her so much. She was the last person I felt comfortable being around, and that was 1.5 years ago. I got invited to the birthday party of my best friend's boyfriend on a Saturday night. Arrived and was told by his mother that actually they hadn't had a party. The whole group had gone camping instead. Not one of the group ever contacted me again. Maybe they got lost in the woods and never came back. I've been that friend. I'm depressive, and sometimes when I start to spiral down, I started avoiding those close to me because I felt ashamed and don't want them to see. I would go for months not talking to and avoiding people I used to see every day. I lost friends. I'm better now and have reconnected with some of the lost friends. Same here. Cutting communication hurts, but for some odd reason it always feels like it has to be done. I'll go on for weeks, months, or even years without any communication. At that point it's often too difficult to muster enough courage to say hi even when I desperately want to. To those I've cut ties with, I'm sorry and I miss you. I was the one who cut someone out after being my best friend for 10 years and best man at my wedding, and he was struggling with finding a job and a number of other things. I did everything I could to help him. Had professionals I knew go over his resume. Had him live with me in a city that had a much better economy than our hometown, etc. I even basically got him a job in tech. My friend gave me the interview quiz sheet and everything. They'd train him and he'd get a okay paying job with insurance. He refused to take it, but was living off my couch. I had tried to get him the job since he'd already spent years trying to find a job in graphic design, which is what he studied in school. I made him a priority because we had been friends so long. He lived with me, my wife, and 2 kids on and off for years, basically refusing to pay rent or help out. He couldn't find paying jobs, just unpaid internships or startups. He actually had a lot of money in the bank because his parents paid for his school, so he took his student loans and kept the money. The entire time I was struggling to stay afloat, he had thousands sitting in the bank. Anyhow, I finally realized it was like a one-way relationship. I gave and he just kept walking all over me. I've seen him once since I told him to move out and a few months later wrote him off completely. We have lots of common friends and it's very obvious he doesn't even realize or care how badly he treated me and my family. Our friends have even pointed out it was balls. It's been over a year since he left and almost a year since I saw him. He still hasn't realized I've cut him out of my life. This amazing since we talked daily online, played games together nightly for a decade. As much as I absolutely hate him for this, I still miss him sometimes. I became business partners with my lifetime best friend, and while things didn't really work out with the business, we remained on great terms throughout the process of building a startup. There was only really one blow up, and we talked it through and moved forward. A few months later he sent an email to the company out of the blue, as well as some of our clients, saying he would no longer be working there. I received the news along with our employees' clients, which was pretty difficult. I would soon find out he had been building his own business underneath ours, and telling a few of our clients that we'd be going through a name change and business would resume as normal. He had even contacted our employees discreetly and offered them a job with him when he left. Since it was a devastating blow to the business, it failed and they jumped ship. I'm glad they did. It would have felt worse if it left them jobless. So one day he left. I called him and sorted out some client conflicts, and we haven't spoken since. He removed me from Facebook and the likes, and that's that. I'm not upset that he wanted to go his separate way or own the business for himself. We were just still buds leading up to the day, and he employed considerable deception under the vice of it all. It suddenly stopped, and that absolutely destroyed me, to be honest. Within a few weeks my then on-off girlfriend of 2 years broke it off over text, and I haven't spoke to her since either. Needless to say, I had pretty significant doubt about who I was as a person, whether I was someone a person could ever really care about, and I went through some serious dark times. I'm better now, but they both are on my mind constantly, probably buried, but it feels good to share this. I haven't had anyone to talk to about it since it happened 6 months ago. That's rough that a close friend would betray you like that, and I'm sorry your GF wasn't able to support you in that bad situation. Time heals, and tomorrow will always be a better day. I stopped talking to a fairly close friend because he was a pathological liar. I just couldn't take it anymore. He'd make up stories even about people being dead. He also stole all the time and he didn't need the money. Just gave the stuff he stole to people he knew. I have a friend like that too. Right now she's pregnant. It sucks that I never know when she's telling the truth. I don't see her often anymore though, since we go to different universities. Never been on the receiving end, but I am now totally fading out someone. Main reason is that this person just sucks all your energy. She has an interesting life story, and as a friend I wanted to be there for her, but I am not her psychologist. It became exhausting. I am not proud of my actions, and it's the first time I've done something like this, but I just couldn't cope anymore. Obviously, your situation could be entirely different. First thing I would do is talk to your friend about your feelings. See where that takes you. Oh my god, this is exactly what I went through. In fact, I told her I felt like her psychologist. She responded by completely cutting me out of her life. I feel much better without her negative energy around. You're doing the right thing. Yes, my father died when I was 13 and a year later my best friend completely stopped talking to me over summer break. When I finally got him to talk to me over the internet, he just told me you're gay. I'm not gay, no offense to those who are, and I have no idea how he got this idea into his head. He was probably gay and had trouble coming to grips with it, or he's just a dong. I was that friend. Got really into drugs and alcohol and my old best friend wasn't. He would have a drink or two on occasion, but never like me, and never while combining everything else. There were situations where I had to choose hang out with X or not be sober, and not being sober sounded so much better. There's no excuse for my actions. X is an amazing person, doing great things with his life, and I'm a freaking bum who only has sobriety to his name. That is a thing, and it can only get better from here. But losing my friendship with X in order to get fricked up is one of the biggest regrets of my life. Fun anecdote about how fricked up I got to be. When the nurse lady at rehab was asking me to list all the drugs and crap I got into, she gave me a "oh honey about 2/3 RDS into the list." I told her I started around the age of 13 and she told me she had kids my age and it scared her. Couldn't say anything else, but you should. Rehab is a funny place like that. Some people are forced to go there and are willing to lie and manipulate their state to make it worth their time. Others have no other option and will do whatever it takes, even if that means bearing all and not holding anything back, to not go back to life before they stepped in. I resided in the latter group, drinking and drugging myself that I was convinced that was it. My last night I blacked out after drinking about a liter of vodka, which was the norm. When I came to, I was face down on my desk with broken up pills scattered about and blood dried to my face. That night I went to the hospital and told them I was going to kill myself, and the next day I was in rehab. Life takes you in weird directions sometimes. One day you're fricked up, the next you still are, but at least you're walking straight. Day at a time, of course. I cut off all communication with someone. Basically, we lived together in a house of 5 for 3 years at university and were really close. Of the 5 of us in the house, 3 stopped paying utilities which were in my name. Basically, I paid the utilities up front and charged them their share of it. It seemed like a simple enough process. It ended with me threatening court action, and my friend, who was paying her share, sided with the other 3 throughout the process. I had to ring her once to say that it was all finally sorted, and I ended the call by saying good luck in the future, to which she replied, "I'll see you next week though, right?" I never saw or spoke to her again. I wish her the best because she was a good friend for her part, but I have literally no interest in her or the other 3. I have done this to someone before. A friend of mine, Jessica, my best friend, actually knew for weeks that I was going to have to put down the dog I had for 11 years, all throughout my childhood. It was weird if Jessica and I went a day without talking to each other or hanging out, and she knew how upset I was, and she even knew the date we were taking my dog to the vet. The night before the procedure, she texts me to ask if I need anything. The morning comes, my mom and I take my dog in, we do the sad deed, and come home. I see Jessica's number on my phone, and think how sweet of her to see if I'm okay. Nope. "Hey Jill, I'm at the beach with everyone. You have to come. And then you can drive me to get food, right?" Jessica, you know I just put my dog down, righto. Bummer. Anyway, just come down. All I could say without crying was I can't. And she goes, "Fine, whatever," and she thought she had hung up the phone. Nope. I heard her say to whoever she was with, "God, she's being so freaking lame. It's just a dog. I really need a ride," and she's being such a b. Last conversation I ever had with that girl. Well, frick that. I get some people don't understand bonds with pets, but a real friend would support you even if they don't get it. She was clearly using you. You're better off without someone like that. And I'm sorry for your loss. Losing a pet is like losing a family member. Not me. It happened to my best friend. Let's call her Maisie. We were in a trio, all very close with each other, but my other friend, Jane, was getting annoyed with her for stupid reasons. I kid you not. One day out of the blue, after they'd been getting on really well, Jean said to Maisie that she didn't want to be friends with her and tried to turn me against her too. I put up with her the first time, but she did it again a year later, so I just said, "Frick it, I'm out. Don't speak to that B anymore." Oh my god, my mother is on Reddit. I met this woman at work in our early 20s and we hit it off. I'm a guy. We were the very best of friends. We were just always together for about 4 years. We could talk about anything and tell each other anything. I dated other people and she was never jealous, and vice versa. A month after our relationship became romantic, she suddenly and bluntly ended it. She simply stopped returning my calls. I went to her house to figure out what was going on. She said she never wanted to see me again. I wanted to tell her that I agreed that dating was a stupid mistake and we should be friends again, but I respected her opinion and merely said, "Fine," and left. If someone doesn't want you in their life, there's no point in arguing about it. I hate to admit it, but I cried a freaking lot over losing her friendship and kicked myself repeatedly for letting it get romantic. But I kept my word and never contacted her again. Several years later I saw her at a music festival. I didn't even acknowledge her. She came up and said, "Why are you ignoring me? I haven't seen you in years." Why are you acting like such a jerk? I looked at her and replied, you told me you never wanted to see me again, so I'm keeping my word. I turned and walked away. It was so hard, but I knew if I talked to her at all the old feelings would come back. In the end I'm glad we had a quick clean break. It was harder in the short term, but like ripping off the band-aid, it was easier in the long run. Yes, the day after my birthday a bunch of my friends from school were going to an amusement park. I sent them messages asking if I could go because I really liked amusement parks. They all looked at my messages but never replied. The next day I found out they asked someone else to go with them that morning instead of me. They fricked me over on my birthday then completely cut me off because I asked them about it. Life is crappy but now I have friends who are way better than they are. My heart broke reading your comment. You poor thing. I'm so glad you have a good bunch of friends now. I hope your next birthday is freaking magical. Yes, my best friend for 11 years recently stopped talking to me, ignoring phone calls and everything. I moved away last summer for 4 months, and before leaving everything seemed fine. We weren't as close as we used to maybe, due to lack of time, going to different schools etc. Anyways, all of a sudden she was just gone. I asked my friends about it and they just told me I needed to speak with her. That became very difficult with her not answering. I even sent her postcard. When I came home for Christmas all I got was a thanks for the gift text, and no reply after that. Now, I still don't know why she won't talk to me and I don't really care anymore. She wasn't a very good friend and didn't always treat me that well. Many of my closest friends are still friends with her and knows why this all happened, but are not allowed to tell me, which makes me frickin' furious. Especially because this was about me, and I'm not allowed to know why I'm such a horrible person or whatever. The other day I saw her and her mom, and when they saw me, they ran away. Yup, didn't feel too great. It hurts, because her mom was like my second mother. I've been on several vacations, trips and everything with her family and now they actually run away when seeing me. The only thing that really bothers me now is that I can't hang out with my friends if she's there. I know I haven't done anything wrong. I've always been a good friend to her. From what my friends have told me, it seems she just figured she didn't like me anymore. Well, good riddance I guess. I'm pretty late to this thread so this will probably get buried. I decided that church really wasn't my thing and wanted out. This wasn't a really spontaneous decision. It took quite a while to get to that point. At the time I was pretty tied into the church including being on a worship team. This was an evangelical free church so worship team just means playing in a band for the music. I worked at the nearby Bible conference and overall was really well known and liked. I was even the best man for one of our guitarist's weddings. I should mention that this was a very serious project of our own to get into a big tour, make CDs, etc. So after wrestling with the idea for at least a year I decide that I'm done and it's not something I really want to be in my life. I didn't exactly expect a no drama outcome but neither did I think that everyone would just drop me. I had a candid conversation with my guitarist friend and after that nothing. Not even a phone call to see how I was doing. It was really devastating for my social life since I had put so much into it and for them to collectively ignore me was equally hurtful. I've since moved on and I have a girlfriend and a whole new set of friends who are all very open and receptive to another's beliefs. TLDR. Stopped believing in religion. Lost all friends who were religious. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.